In this lesson, we're going to talk about linear inequalities. Recall a rule of algebra that states that if we divide both sides of an inequality by a negative amount, then we need to change the direction of the inequality. And actually, this is true if we multiply or divide. So we know that 1 is less than 2, but if we multiply both sides by -1, we know that -1 is greater than -2. So notice that we change the direction of the inequality operator. Let's solve this inequality. 2x minus 1 is less than 17. Well, first thing we can do is add 1 to both sides. So we start here. Adding 1 to both sides does not require us to change the direction of the inequality operator. Then we have 2x is less than 18. We can divide both sides by 2. Since 2 is positive, we're not going to change the direction of the inequality operator. We get an answer of x is less than 9. Stating that in solution set form or stating that in interval notation are shown right there. And what if we want to solve this inequality? 5 minus 3x is greater than or equal to 17. Well, what we're going to do is subtract 5 from both sides. Now, subtracting does not require us to change the direction of the inequality operator. So when we subtract 5 from both left and right, we get negative 3x is less than or equal to 12. Now, we divide by -3. When you divide by a negative, you have to change the direction of the inequality operator. So we have negative 3x on one side, 12 on the other. Divide both sides by -3. And just make sure that you change that greater than or equal to a less than or equal to. And you end up with x being less than or equal to -4, as it says there. And we can state our answer in solution set form or in interval notation. Now, what if we want to solve this inequality here? State the solution in set notation and interval notation. Well, we start with 7 is less than x plus 4 is less than or equal to 12. What we want to do now is subtract 4 from all three sides. Whatever we do, we have to do it to all three parts of this inequality. So we're going to subtract 4, and subtract 4. Okay? That leads us to 3 less than x less than or equal to 8. And that's our final answer. Okay? And we state our answer in set notation or interval notation. And let's try this one. We have -5 less than or equal to -2 times x minus 1 is less than 14. Well, what we can do right away is expand that middle portion out. So we're going to distribute the -2. Then we get to here. Now what we want to do is subtract this 2 from all three sides, quote unquote. So subtracting 2 from all three sides gets us -7 less than or equal to -2x less than 12. Well, what we're going to do now is divide all three sides by -2. So going back, we're going to say -7 over -2. And then in the middle, we'll have -2x over -2. And on the right, we'll have 12 over -2. But we are dividing by a negative, so we need to change this less than to a greater than, and we need to change this less than or equal to a greater than or equal to. So what ends up happening is we have 7/2 greater than or equal to x greater than -6, as we'll see on the next slide. 7/2 greater than or equal to x greater than -6. But we like to write our solutions from lowest to greatest. So we change the direction, and instead of saying 7/2 greater than or equal to x greater than -6, we say -6 less than x less than or equal to 7/2. And that allows us to state our interval notation properly. Now, please note, if you leave it here, if you leave it like this, that's technically correct, but if you then write your interval notation as this, you'll get no marks at all for that because that doesn't make any sense in interval notation. Interval notation, you're always putting the smaller number first and the larger number second. And one more question here. We'll solve this inequality. We see that we've got x's on all three sides. So what we want to do in a situation like this is get our x's in the middle. So let's subtract this 4x from all three of these sides, and that's going to allow us to concentrate all the x's in that middle part. Okay, so like it says here, we want to get all the terms in the middle, subtract 4x from all three sides, and we end up with 10 less than or equal to 3x minus 4 less than 22. Now we're going to add 4 to all three sides, and that'll concentrate the x's in the middle, and there won't be a non-x term. So we get 14 less than or equal to 3x less than 26. Now we want to divide all three sides by 3. Doing that does not require us to change the direction of the inequality, and we have our final answer. We state it in solution set form and in interval notation.